So much phrasing. All right. All right. We are live. And so, of course, now we have to chat a little bit just because we have to let people get through the commercials. But we are streaming out to not just Twitch tonight, not just YouTube, not just Twitter. We are also going to, I'm testing out Facebook tonight.
Oh, wow.
The Academy of Esports is on Facebook. I was off Facebook for 2 years, and it is the only, well, looking at, there's something going on in this country that kind of also makes me glad that I avoid Facebook, but I'm not following anybody. It's strictly a Academy of Esports page with me having an account that I will not use to friend anybody.
That's good.
Stalk people, but not friend them.
Yeah, I'm there because I have to be there, and I hate almost every minute that I'm there.
Hey, we're gonna rearrange. Okay, there we go. That feels so much better about that. That feels.
I also I moved, so now it's not Hakuna Matata live anymore. It's like
no.
Well, shall we do the countdown?
We shall.
Okay. And here we are. Look at that. We're all here. We made it through the countdown. I really should have one of my scholar gamers make me a whole new, because nobody liked my Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
We liked it. We just went.
You didn't know it.
That is so
It's bad because
shameful.
I've watched the movie. It's not like I don't know the content. I am the worst person when it comes for picking up references for any kind of movie and or TV show. I'm just bad.
It is Thursday night. It is time for the Esports EDU chat. Welcome in. I am one of your co-hosts tonight. 4 co-hosts. I am James O'Hagan. I'm the Director of Digital Virtual Learning for the Racine Unified School District, host of the Academy of Esports podcast, and Troublemaker. And below me today we have...
Me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hi guys, my name is Angelique Giannis. I'm an English teacher in San Diego, California, and I'm also a NASEP Scholastic Mentor.
And just over this way, we've got a couple of people. We'll start in the middle.
I'm Carrie Linden, otherwise known as the Truck Moochu on Twitter. I am the communication specialist for Liminal Esports.
And all the way on the other side, we have...
I'm Danielle Johnson. I'm a middle school teacher in Dallas, Texas, and I am also part of the Texas Scholastic Esports Federation.
And we've called him up from AAA moderating. He's all the way down in the bottom left-hand corner. He is, or bottom right, left, I don't know. He is, I guess, the bread to my butter. He is the peanut butter to my jam in the state of Wisconsin. We are typically, it's just like Carrie, I'm sorry. It's not that I'm cheating on you at presentations. Mike Dolly, please introduce yourself.
So I am Mike Dolly. I'm the president of the Wisconsin High School Esports Association. And then I am also a business education teacher again at Elkhorn High School. So back in the classroom, enjoying the chaos.
Nice.
Me too.
Yeah,
it's my first year back in a couple years.
Really? Wait, what were you doing before? You were
I
doing
was an instructional coach.
Oh, that's right. But
And
Mike,
chaos it is.
but Mike went full on private sector and not, I mean, like, yeah. Tell him what you were doing before, Mike.
I was a instructional systems designer and LMS administrator for a private company.
Sounds exciting,
Wow.
doesn't it?
So you were the person we could blame.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Let's
No.
talk about that.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Let's talk about how nothing is ever designed for K-12.
Like
Not even a
Riot's
little bit.
guidelines. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Oh,
Did we already segue into...
Wow, am I already? I'll just back off for a second. Okay.
I mean, so I worked with a lot of construction, mining, and agriculture companies, and
Oh, so you're not the problem.
no. I was the one pushing hey, multiple choice, true, false doesn't do anything but check a box. And I was like, let's do some branching, let's do some creative, actual critical thinking and analysis. And they're like, no, we want to buy multiple choice and true, false. That's what we can afford. That's what we want. So it's not my fault.
Well, and again, you decided to come back in the midst of a pandemic, but you have also taken over control of the Elkhorn. It's Elkhorn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Elkhorn Esports team. So that's a huge deal as well, too, for us to have you there. So thank you for being there.
Oh, no problem. I mean, there's another guy that's still there, so I get to kind of like hang out on the sides, and I don't get to take over everything, which is okay with me. So that way I can focus on living on Discord and Twitter and making sure that all the fires behind the scenes are put out. So I'm okay with that.
So I have a confession, and it's not a Mike confession, but he did bring up Discord today. I have, for the longest time, hated everything about Discord.
What?
Hated it. I hated all of it.
What?
But what I will say is
Did the conference win you over?
the UCI conference and what
Yeah.
Kathy Shang put together for Discord made me fall in love with Discord.
That
pretty
was
awesome.
smooth. That was
awesome.
some smooth stuff right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that conference is by far. I said last year that's the conference I tell everybody they should have gone to. This is the best online conference I have attended yet. Now, of course, Reverend Harris is not here tonight. Reverend is not here tonight. He's in the chat. You can jump in at any time, of course, but he's got his TCCA conference coming up, so he's got something to live up to with that. No pressure, Reverend.
I really did like how that made it a lot more like going to a physical conference, because what a lot of them have been missing is the community time and the talking and meeting each other.
Yeah.
And that really allowed that interaction to happen in a really natural way. And I wasn't even able to watch the streams, but I was able to follow everything on Discord and even join like some Among Us games.
It was also really nice to have tech support like right there for you. So if you ever had an issue or a question, there was literally a room to pop into, and responses were super fast. So like you go to other conferences digitally and you have a question, it's like 3 hours later somebody gets back to you, and here it was super quick. It was great.
Yeah. It was very fun to have an experience of playing Among Us with a number of students from UCI and JT from Riot, playing a free game in an environment where there are educators and students together in the same space, freely playing a game that can be downloaded by anybody and not having to go through a paywall. Wow, I am really just a spicy bitch tonight.
Oh my god.
Well, I can't imagine what's got you all fired up, Jane.
I don't even want to get into it right now. I would like to, though. I feel I don't want to drive the ship tonight. I really, this. I know, don't give up the captain's chair or whatever. But Angelique put out something amazing today that I would love to draw attention to right out the gate, so that if people are watching this and they get really bored with the rest of the conversation, that they don't miss. They don't miss this. So I'm going to put up on
Twitter's back up, so you can actually check it out. Because I feel like I retweeted it, and then Twitter was just like, "No, I'm sorry, that broke the internet."
Nope. Sorry, I broke the internet. Yeah, I broke Twitter today. That's what I'm going to tell everyone. I made Twitter go down.
So go ahead, Angelique. I think I got it up on screen. I'm trying to pull your tweet up right now too, but Twitter changed there's a whole bunch of broken stuff on Twitter.
It's not okay right now.
It's my
it is
fault.
very sick.
I'm really sorry.
But that's why we're here.
Yeah, we had to go live to share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Among Us is a great game. We all know this. We've been playing it for weeks now. I've been playing it with my gaming club for like over a month now. Every week, that's what we've been playing. And we've been having so much fun. I'm like in tears laughing every single time. And I teach English, high school English, and my kids are silent. I never hear them. As I'm sure my friends in chat and my friends here who teach high school or any level except for like kindergarten and lower elementary know, like during distance learning, kids' mics aren't on. Their cameras are definitely not on. And when you ask them to unmute their mic, they're like, yes, no. you know, and it's just like so painful. And I think like that's what's been draining me the most out of the last 8 months or however long we've been in quarantine, is I love talking to my students. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to bring this into my classroom. It's finals week. So I tricked my kids, and I didn't put this in my tweet, but on my agenda today, I told my kids they had 1 minute impromptu persuasive speeches for their final. And I surprised them with playing Among Us, and my kids just lost it. And it was so much fun. Every single one of my kids were talking, unmuting their mics. Some of my kids turned their cameras on, which is like unheard of, because I said, like, if you want to challenge yourself, we can all have our cameras on, because that's a whole nother level. And it was like, not only did we play all period and everyone was talking, but on top of that, my kids wouldn't leave my Zoom. And you guys know, like, the second you're like, all right, you're free to go, it's like everyone's gone except for the 2 kids who like muted you and put you in another tab and forgot that you were there, right? Like, and then I like mess with them and I'm like, hello, is anybody there? And then they freak out and they exit. But they wouldn't leave my Zoom. My kids, my third period stayed all the way through lunch, which was 45 minutes, playing with us. Like, we were all playing together. And then I said, you guys need to go to fourth period. And they're like, can we still play? And I'm like, it was just crazy. It was like the best day, because I haven't heard most of those kids' voices for the last 10 weeks. 10 weeks. And they're like screaming at each other. So I was like, I need to share this with everyone, because it was just so awesome.
The importance of play. Even today, when I was having a conversation with, we're looking at some ways that we can engage some of our students, who we'll call, the term I've learned today and accepted over the last couple of weeks, it's a very good term, I feel, is neurodiverse, rather than talking about somebody being on the spectrum, which we're all on a spectrum somewhere. Neurodiversity is a much more appropriate term when we're talking about things. And the students who are neurodiverse in our virtual program don't always fit into the curriculum that we've got, you know, the universal design for learning concepts. But one of the things too that I found really helpful recently, and this is something that goes back to things my mom and I used to do and the way we used to communicate, was when there were serious conversations, most of the time, unless she was yelling at me, which was rare, I was a good boy. I swear, my parents say I tiptoed through adolescence. I didn't go out on every Friday and Saturday night was watching USA Network, all the B movies that they had. It was Gilbert Gottfried and Rhonda Shear, I think, up all night. Anyway, sorry, dating myself. Anyway, but we would cook together, and that's when we would have the conversations. You know, I'd be busy with something with my hands, doing all these things. That was that. Some of my check-ins now with some of my students, it's always playing Minecraft. Well, don't take them out of Minecraft. You know, leave them in Minecraft. I had better check-ins with with one student in particular while he was playing Minecraft, and engaging him in that first, and then having the conversation, the serious stuff, and going the back and forth. So what you're talking about is, you know, I'm sure it's a tried old trick that some mothers and fathers used with their kids years ago. And psychologists, you know, there's now game therapy where therapists are actually meeting with people who need therapy services in game. Like, hey, we're going to play Call of Duty together and kill Nazis and talk about how your mom or your dad ruined your life, or whatever it is that your problem is. So there's good psychology in what you're talking about, Angelique.
Well, and there's like, and you know what blew me away today was I have a student who I teach regular sophomore English, like college prep sophomore English, but I also get all the English language learner students who it's their first time in a mainstream English classroom. And I also co-teach SPED students, so students that are on IEPs and 504s. So I have like kids from all over the spectrum. And one of my students, who has never said a word because she barely speaks any English, was popping off in Zoom today. Like, I mean, obviously, like, she's trying to like say everything in English so you could see her trying, but I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I haven't been able to get this kid to unmute just one-on-one with me. And now she's talking to 10, 13 people who are in this room on Zoom. And I'm like, this is just, it was awesome. Obviously they're practicing English skills, and it's easy for me as an English teacher to incorporate this, but as a community building activity, like I know that my kids are going to come in on Tuesday and be way more, able to unmute themselves and feel way more comfortable within breakout rooms when we're doing something with a book or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And take us through this too, because your rules, I mean, the game, most kids know the game.
Right.
A lot of adults have seen it, maybe played it. I have never played it in a group of more than my children until recently, because I don't like just going into regular, just playing randos, because that's just God knows what.
Yeah,
Carrie and her Sea of Thieves experience has frightened me away. So
yeah.
But talk about what is this? How does this work for persuasive speeches?
So really the only thing that I changed is the custom settings, and I structured the discussion time. So there's a slide on there that says discussion time. Yeah.
This one.
So I structured it. So, normally in Among Us, it's chaos and everyone's yelling at each other and accusing each other. And then inevitably one person kind of takes the reins on the conversation. So I wanted everybody's voice to be heard. So I structured it. And I said, we're going to have a 90-second discussion time, and it's going to be split in 3 parts. The first 30 seconds, everyone needs to make a claim. Everyone can you can go and report out where you were, what you saw, or who you think the imposter is and why. But nobody can counterclaim. There's no counter arguments yet. And then we go around, and I really facilitated that discussion and kind of just went down the list. And then the second 30 seconds is open to counterclaims, or you can vouch for someone else, right? Like my examples I have there. I don't think Miss Giannis is the imposter because I saw her do med bay, right? If someone's accusing me. And then the last 30 seconds is everyone again, where you state whether you agree or disagree with someone and why, and decide who you're going to vote for. And then you go into voting time for 30 seconds. So it's a little bit longer discussion time than they're used to, because they usually just yell at each other and then just panic vote. But I was like, I want everyone's voices to be heard. That's the most important thing that I wanted. I wanted everyone to talk, and I wanted it to be like a more structured claim and evidence, because I'm an English teacher, with sentence frames. So it worked well. I mean, at times it gets heated towards the end of the game. We know this, but from the get-go, the structure helped. And so I had this projected, my screen shared with just this slide as we were playing, because obviously I can't share my game. So, yeah, unless I'm the imposter.
Well, and here's the thing I love too about the game is that once you're eliminated, whether you're kicked out or you are the imposter, if you're the imposter, we know the game is over. But if you, or impasta, as some of my Italian descent students have been calling it recently, and we actually have an emote in our Discord for impasta, which is one of the Among Us characters striped in the Italian flag colors. But anyway, what I like about it is if you're eliminated, you still participate. There's still you're a ghost floating around, and you can still cause havoc or complete your jobs or whatever it is. Right. So, yeah.
And then it becomes obviously the ghost chat. So because the kids are coming for my life right out the gate. Yeah. And I told them today, if you kill me, you get an F. Where it's finals. Like if I'm dead, you're getting an F. It didn't work. Because they came for me. Like I barely got to play today because they were all gunning for my life. Which I thought was hilarious, but also kind of frustrating. But then you go into the ghost chat. So we're all talking and I'm talking well, what's that person's strategy, right? One of my kids was the imposter. We all knew he was the imposter. So we're talking about how is he convincing people? Oh, and he played I do the same thing in this game. I act like I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't know what? What are you talking about? So we were talking about their strategies in the ghost chat, even though we were dead. So it was awesome. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
Do you use the in-game chat or do you use the Zoom chat?
We were using the in-game chat as we were playing, as a ghost.
Okay.
I was using kind of both. I used the Zoom chat for when I was dead, because I was no longer kind of guiding that conversation. I would say if I noticed they were talking over someone, I would say, hey, let so-and-so talk. I would say that in Zoom. So they would be like, oh, sorry. And they would. So just to bring everyone's voices out.
The one thing I also really like about this game is, I mean, I love, so I used to teach self-contained. So PE was also something that I had to teach. And I think that's becoming more and more common across like the country of classroom teachers having to teach PE too. But I'd have my kids create PE games. And one of the hardest things for them to wrap their heads around was what to do with somebody when they're out.
Mm-hmm.
And my criteria was always like, if you're creating a PE game, once somebody is out, they have to still be active. And it was a really hard concept for kids to grasp.
Right.
I love this game as a foundation for that, because like if you taught PE and having kids create games of their own, this is something you could have them walk through. Like you could bring this game up, have them play it and be like, okay, now that's what I'm talking about. Like you're out of the game, but you're not out of the game. You can still sabotage. You can still, be doing your tasks. Like there's still something that you're doing. You're still contributing. So I think it's fun to now have like a video game example of that.
Yeah, and helping your team win too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I was thinking of, I'm like, wow, this could be amazing in person too, because obviously we're in person, we're in class right now, but the kids can't be around each other. Well, you can do this exact same thing whether or not you're distance learning or in person.
Yeah.
And I teach like my kids are whatever we're calling it, hybrid, co-seated, concurrent, whatever. And we play also. So it is something that brings everybody together. I've been really working to keep the community going. So the kids are always working together, even the kids in person and online are like paired together, partnered together. And when they get to play together like this, it builds the community that is the part that just is wearing all of us down, is not having that, and wearing them down. So this is a really great way to keep the team together,
and build that community across that divide too.
Yeah.
But
Make the Jim. What do you say? Make the virtual personal.
Yeah, we make virtual personal. That is, and here's the thing, that is the hardest thing to do. And I will tell you that we launched our elementary program this fall. I have avoided elementary forever because, again, I'm an elementary school teacher by trade. I could not disagree more with the approach of a virtual learning program for elementary, because I felt it took kids away from social structures and the things that are really important about elementary school. But we were forced into it at the point of a COVID virus, right? And so what we've seen, though, is it really comes down to still great teaching. It still comes down to a teacher who can get creative in how they connect kids together. Sue Ellen Cron, who is our elementary K-5 teacher, she said, how do I do this? How do you want me to set this up? And I said, one room schoolhouse. Think back to Little House on the Prairie and, combine your grades together. And so she does a K2 meeting in the morning. So you've got age bands of kids meeting together, and you've got 3-5 bands of kids meeting together. And but she doesn't just use the canned curriculum just like no other teacher does. She goes and does all the other things. Every time I come in there in the morning, because she starts early with her morning meeting, I don't like getting in until about 8:30, 9 o'clock. I stay late though, but she's reading books. She's having 30-minute meetings with every student. My mentor teacher is meeting with the parents so the parents don't feel. That's the hard thing too. Parents feel really inadequate right now, especially at the elementary level, because they don't know what the heck to do. What do you mean my kid's done in 2 hours or hour and 45 minutes, or sometimes it takes longer? And it's like, no, really, you don't realize just how much school is about all these other things that we can't do right now.
Right.
So, yeah. Amanda says, let them play Minecraft. Many of our kids are involved in the Minecraft Rube Goldberg competition. Thank you, Mr. Steve Isaacs, who is here. Thank you, NASA, for helping to get that going as well, too. Thank you, Rube Goldberg people. In fact, what I saw, too, this week that was really cool was one of my kids had okay. So, again, working with some of those kids who just, what do we call it? Not a process. It's operational defiance. Mm-hmm. He insisted up and down. He turned in a lesson about transfer of energy, 7th grader. Okay. He said, I emailed it. I checked all of his email, went into the archives, the whole deal, checked his Google account, nothing. Swore up and down he had it. Let him have a week to kind of sort it out, step back on it. You know what he turned in? He turned in his pulley project from Minecraft. And floored his teacher because
That's awesome.
well, think about it. That's all that a pulley is. It's a transfer of energy. He took that pulley project and turned that into his teacher, and the teacher's like,
Mind
wow.
blown. Yeah.
I've had students turn in great work from multiple different curriculum areas in Minecraft. Like, I think, teachers leaving that just sort of as an open means of submission can be great, because you always have, like, there's a few kids in your class that definitely don't want to touch it, but there's always that group that automatically gravitates towards video games, and they can do some amazing things, whether it's in like Gerbil or whether it's Minecraft. I've seen some really cool projects come out of, social studies units, for things like Assassin's Creed. So, leaving that on the table for kids is huge.
Well, and I think, just leaving it as an option. I had one of my coworkers who is not very techy. We had like this open choice project for a book that we were reading. It was our final. And I said, you have to do a creative project, but you can do it whatever you want, as long as it represents a part of the book. And she came to me and she said, there's a kid that wants to do something in Minecraft. I don't know what that is. And I said, do it. Let them do it. And I bet you'll be blown away. And she was so scared, like so nervous. She came to me like a week later. She's like, the kid rebuilt a whole scene from the book in Minecraft and walked us through it. And it was interactive. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, yes. And that's why I'm so pumped at Minecraft EDUs on Chromebooks too. As an English teacher or history teacher or really anything, like, it's just opening up so many opportunities.
Yeah, it opens it up to a lot of people. And I think it's one of those things where teachers just need to get more comfortable with it. I know at my old site, pretty much all the teachers have fixed assignments. So there's only one way to provide your content knowledge. I think as more teachers get into sort of a menu system where, you have a certain standard or you have a certain chunk of content that you've got to show that you have mastery of, but leaving that like how completely open. So, you can pick your different menu items and be like, okay, I'm going to do this one, but I'm going to do it this way. It allows your musical kids to be doing stuff with music. It allows your gamer kids to be doing stuff within video games. There leaves the opportunities open, which
Isn't that just personalized learning? Right? It's personalized teaching for us.
It is. Yeah.
We all don't like to teach the exact same way. So why not just let us connect with material that we know how?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Preach.
Well, if you tune into the Academy of Esports podcast this weekend when it drops on Sunday night, unless you go over to Twitch, because Kevin Brown is in chat here, we actually talk about, what you just talked about, Mike. In Japan, there is none of that. It is all rote. It is all on this day. You will do teaching and there are some school districts, believe it or not, who still do that and are trying to still do that now in the situation that we are in.
I know I get in trouble because I don't like to fill out every unit plan and be like, oh, well, how'd you define this learning target? How'd you meet it? I know that I did. I'm not writing it all down. Like, come sit and hang out and learn too. Like, I'll show you that you know it. But
and I think it just, like, as a teacher, like, letting kids have that choice, like we were saying, it mixes it up for you. Like, they're talking in chat, like, I don't want 90 brochures to grade. Like, I'm gonna fall asleep. Like, how, like, I don't need that. But like, when I get like, a brochure and then a poster and then a video or an art piece or a Minecraft like world or like all these, I'm like excited grading, like, yes, amazing.
I got a meal once. Like, we had a full-on meal brought into class, and it was awesome. I think the thing that I love about it the most is, one, obviously it's nice to not have 38 essays to read, but you also have like a certain amount of inspiration that I think comes of it, because, things come in and somebody's like, well, I didn't know I could do that. Like, well, of course. Like, did they meet the content standards? So like, well, yeah. I'm like, so then why couldn't you have done that? I watched kids who always chose the textbook. By the end of, 1 or 2 years, they were never choosing the textbook anymore. They were going off and doing these exploratory things and building things and trying things out. And it was really neat watching them come out of sort of the shell of like, well, what do I have to do, to being like, well, what could I do with this, and learning all these new skills and having fun with it. And so, having one person sort of think outside of the box ended up making the person next to them more likely to think outside of the box the next time. And then before you know it, your whole class is just doing some really cool, amazing things.
I want to pause. I want to jump in right there and say that is true if your kids are all together, like level wise. Because if you have all of your kids in honors, that you are more likely to give freedom to choose, and all of your kids in on level who never see that, then you are doing a major disservice to both groups.
Yeah, see, my group,
we are fully detracked, and it is the most brilliant thing that has ever happened in education.
And that's like, see, my group was, I had 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I had some that were at 2nd grade academic levels. I had others that were studying astrophysics on the side. So like I had this huge gap between students.
Brain on bread.
Yeah, I think that like the ability for projects like these, in that giving the kids freedom and choice, can pull those middling students up into that more high achieving, more curious, where they really get to shine. But if they never see an exemplar from their peers or see the creativity from their peers, then like if they're a middling student and they're the highest in your class, you're doing a disservice to all groups.
It also, I found that it challenged my upper achievers, because I found that most of my upper achievers were really play it safe students. Like they never had to work for it. They never had to try. Like they got all their grades, and all of a sudden not having that safety net of this is how you do stuff. I watched them crash and burn.
And sometimes it's good.
I would rather them figure that out in middle school than be having that sort of challenge at the university level, and suddenly seeing something that's different, because it's a lot of that self-awareness and self-monitoring that they don't really need to practice those skills because everything came super easy. So it was interesting watching them get challenged as well.
If you see me holding laughter in, it's because the chat
is flying by.
I know.
And calling out my flan. Look, it is finally hitting freeze warning levels here in Wisconsin.
It's 85 right now.
When it gets cold here, we just button the top button, and then we just go outside and shovel and do everything else. But the top button gets buttoned when it gets cold.
You're very proper right now.
I am. Yes.
You did up your top button.
I did.
That's what I appreciate about you.
That's Texas Ties 10-4. I need some Letterkenny sounds. That's what I definitely need around here. There's what
happened?
We seem to be experimenting some technological differences.
I did not kick her out. She disappeared on her own. No, but we'll bring her back in as soon as she pops back. But
it's like they weren't listening to us. They were just staring at your shirt. Why are you a distraction? I think we need a dress code. You're distracting the class with how you're dressed.
With my green, you can see too that the hat has the green, so the green screen is showing through the green band of the hat. One of the things, though, that was really important to note in this is, because we were talking earlier, I brought up parents and parents really struggling in this environment. I think parents think, again, Travis Witt, who's also here in chat tonight, he's going Big T. He did say that, in Minnesota, they still have a lot of rote script curriculum. How many of us have ever gotten to the end of the book?
Oh, like teaching?
Yeah.
I mean,
we
even
entirely
if you get to the end of the
Australia.
book, you're leaving chunks out. If you've gotten all the way to the end of the book and not skipped any section.
I will get to it this year. It will be my first one ever because it's a specific technical college book that they had specially made. So literally all 4 chapters that I will cover in all 4 modules will be covered. So this will be a first.
Wait, so the book was designed for the class.
They made their own book.
Not the other way around.
Okay.
That's a little bit different.
I feel like sitting down 8th grade social studies was the worst for me. You get that curriculum and you're like,
it's 200 years of explorers and like
there's no
20
way,
minutes on World War II.
Yeah, we're not going to do any service to any of these chunks of time because there's just too much to go through. Yeah.
All right. So I want to bring in Tristan here, Tristan Wheeler, librarian, Cleveland, Ohio. has a serious question, so we can
Okay.
stop riffing. I have a big question, all my educator and teacher friends. What are good ways that other organizations and institutions help educators, teachers in regards to gaming and esports aside from funding? That's an easy. Is it really an easy one? Is fun? I think I know this is taking us a little bit off rails. Sorry, everybody, but we're going to. Oh, Miss Gianna says her PC died.
Okay.
It is taking us a little bit off rails, but again, we want to make sure that we're getting to everybody here tonight as much as we can. And this looks like a serious question. Good ways that organizations and institutions help educators, teachers in regards to gaming and esports. Well, again, that's a loaded question. I'm holding back.
So you have the obvious, which are providing free access of content, creating your system so that it's equitable and accessible to everybody, not just pay to play or subscription systems, making so that you're not locked out based on league. I think on top of that, if you look at some game titles, they actually have like lessons created with it. Like if you play What Remains of Edith Finch, there's actually curriculum that's attached to the game. So if you are an English teacher, because I believe it's ELA aligned, you could go in and actually have material that's already been designed with instruction in mind. So, I think it would be great to see more developers do that. You've got the education mode for Assassin's Creed. So I think we could see more. I think we could see more game developers take their games and pivot and realize that there's learning opportunities. I think the simplest thing that I would love to see is being able to turn gore off of every game. Because there's some titles that I've played that with just like 3 things removed, I could have used it at a middle school level, but because those things exist and they couldn't be shut down, I couldn't use them.
I would say, also, knowing Tristan, knowing your world of libraries, the biggest help that I've had is working with the Racine Public Library directly to provide devices to kids who right now don't have devices.
Yeah,
that has been. I've got a wish list right now going, and of what I need for some of my kids right now. I know, sorry, Mike, that we're getting ready for the Wisconsin season. And there might be some forfeits along the way because of lack of devices. Yeah. And it might be that it just takes time for us to sort these things out, or we try to get, some rescheduling or whatever. But the library system, I think, is the most highly undertapped, underused resource for scholastic esports right now. Developers should be reaching out to libraries and saying, we will come to your library and we will run a session on just how to play our game. How to teach it and strategies and things, because it's not just helping K-12. It's not just helping the kids from ages 5 to 18 or whoever's doing it. You're talking about helping senior citizens who want to get in and play some of these games, who may feel a barrier to entry because of their age. Ageism is real in gaming. It's like, oh, isn't it cute? Grandma and grandpa want to play a game. No, grandma want to kick some ass and they want to kill Nazis too, like we did back in the 40s. That kind of stuff. So there's a great opportunity for libraries to be, again, that community space, that open space that brings in everybody of all ages, puts them together side by side and realizes we're not really all that different racially, age-wise, gender-wise, culture, race. I think I said all the different wises. So,
yeah. Steve's throwing out all the crowdfunding too.
Yeah, I think the equipment at the library, I know right now being in a pandemic and not being able to congregate, but when we are past this, having the devices available at the library. I know a lot of libraries do tool checkouts too. So this is something that you could actually check out to families to be able to use. That would provide tons of families with an introduction to some of these things. I fell in love with video games through my son. I did not play video games before he started playing them. And so this is something that you could bring in. Having video games available to check out to families and to students, just like you can with DVDs and stuff, is something that libraries could definitely do.
So I teach in the business ed area, and I think as far as institutions go, while I think the library is great, I think a lot of these major companies need to help develop better curriculum of things that they're seeing in person. I don't mind the gamification, but after a certain point, Bitmojis don't really resonate necessarily with 15, 16-year-olds.
What?
Yeah, sorry. They're, you know,
What?
I'm speaking outside the box here.
Oh, wait, real quick. Kratos, 3:00 in the morning in Israel. Thank you for checking in. It is so great that you were able to come in here. Thank you for popping in and saying hello. It was fabulous to have you pop in from Israel. Thank you. We have Miss Amateur Hour back here too. Miss Spare Parts, by the way, she made it back.
You know what is so ironic about all this? I literally was on Zoom with Jarrell yesterday, and he helped me build a new PC because I'm going to build one. So this just really confirmed that I need to. It just shut up.
Figuratively killing me.
It just.
Jarrell, do you want to like mentor one of my students through that? That's his personal project this semester.
Oh, sorry, Jarrell. I mean, he actually said he loves.
Yes.
it, so.
Okay. I'll message you later.
wants-
Like for real, that's all he wants to do. He does not want to build a cardboard chair.
No, that
Sorry,
was a
Mike.
little bit more expensive.
Sorry, Mike, that you were talking about the wonders of Bitmojis and the educational value and the impact that Bitmojis make in the classroom.
Yeah, it makes a huge impact. But like, I'm teaching a lot of financial accounting material right now, and while the credit union here in the state has made some curriculum, it is down to a relatively lower level. I would love to get some higher level curriculum that actually provides them realistic simulations. Like, we can anonymize data, but in order to give them realistic applications within it, I would love to connect with some of them to help build a better product that actually helps students work through real problems that they would explore there. So maybe not actually using like games, but using gamification of real life examples that allow them to work through problems. Like, I understand it's a big financial commitment up front for the production of it, but yeah, Bitmojis, I can't get through some of the modules that I have my kids going through because it's just like, it's just so. It says up to 16, but let's be real, it's up to maybe 13, maybe 12.
But here's the thing, what you talk about, you said the gamification. That's an appropriate use. That is, again, I saw somebody post something on LinkedIn the other day. It was Chris Smith, Australian guy, I think, who does a lot of stuff now. And he was interviewing somebody from a company. And I wrote out a wrong response and then I deleted it. I'm like, I'm not even going to waste my time on this. But he used the phrase playing a gamification when he was talking about, I don't remember what it was, but I because it was on screen too. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I read that. It said playing a gamification. Maybe that was just a the closed caption was off. Oh no, I went back and I listened. He actually used the phrase playing a gamification. And I went, see, this is one of the big problems that we've got right now, where people just don't know. They're talking about educational terms that they don't know. They've never set foot in a school since they graduated high school or dropped out of high school or whatever it was.
And gamifying learning is a hard one because a lot of people don't get it. Like,
it's a nuance.
A quiz is still a quiz, even if you earn points and there's a cute character attached to it. Like, it's still a quiz. That's not, you haven't really gamified the quiz. You've just dressed it up in a Halloween costume.
Chocolate covered broccoli, as Kevin Brown calls it.
Yeah, it's exactly it. But you'll find like whole education communities that are built up around, gamification, and that's all it is. It's Quizlet and all these other weird things that are like, no, that's just a testing system. If numbers are falling and you're just hitting the right number, like it's still kill and drill. Like, it's
one of the things that Riot has done, I think, a little bit well is their first lesson in their game design curriculum is about what fun is and like what makes things fun and a breakdown of the different types of fun. And yeah, you're right. Some of these educational games do not meet those criteria, whereas, well, Among Us totally does because it's fun. It builds community.
But that's
part of it.
The problem with, I think, ed tech in general is just because you've called it a game doesn't mean it's a game. Really good learning games are game forward. They're really taking the principles of what makes a good video game, and then like those are the bones, and then the curriculum sort of wraps around and fleshes it out. So in the end, like you don't you can put a kid in it and the kid's going to think that they're pulling the wool over your eyes because they're just playing this really cool, fun game. They don't get it until after the fact when you actually start talking to them and they're like, oh, maybe I learned things. Like, yeah, you know, and but they're built differently. Like a lot of educational games, the learning's right up front. You know, it's the wrong motivator. Like, it's the wrong motivator. Gamification back into yeah, right.
Listen, you can't lie though. The Kahoot theme music is just, you know.
Oh, that. Yeah.
And you know, I can't wait to
tried the remixes.
Yeah. Oh, the remixes, fire.
And I can't wait to have that person who's I forgot her name, but she's at every ed tech conference. She's never taught a day in her life, but she's telling teachers all the tools that they need to use. Forgot her name.
Is she blonde?
No, Leslie Fisher. Yes. Tell us all about all the tools we can use and never taught a day in her life. That is fabulous.
I love that. That's my favorite.
That's edusplaining right there. That is just and people line up for that. Can you believe that shit? Oh God, I gotta clean it. Sam's gonna yell at me.
Edusplaining. I've also taken it to esports splaining, which is the people that start talking.
You mean like how JT tells us how we're supposed to do things in K-12, but hasn't had one conversation with any person actually in a K-12 environment, other than the people at Playversus, which I think only has one person who's ever educated in a classroom currently on staff, according to somebody who used to work at the company that I know. Oh,
just like that.
Can you hear you people gaslighting me tonight? It is just so subtle. Oh wait, maybe it's all in my head. I don't know. Go on Twitter and see
blocked. Did you unblock it?
Yeah.
Why can I see the bad word?
Oh, because you all because
I'm VIP.
You all have VIP status.
We have access to the swears. No, you're 100% right. I don't think anybody here disagrees with your ranting.
And it's interesting because like the whole like movements in design and experience design is like user focused and user. And I think people think in education our users are children, but they're not. The users are teachers.
Yeah.
Like if you want it to happen in a school, a teacher does it. And if a teacher doesn't like it, it doesn't happen. And teachers are the 100% the most stable thing at a school because we're going to be there after those kids are gone. And we are the users.
It's hard because you're designing. Yeah, see, but that's where it's hard, I think, from a game design or a game development standpoint, is you're essentially developing a product for two different consumer bases, because the enjoyment factor is what's going to keep the player engaged and, you know, enjoying, whereas the teacher needs are completely different. So you've got to find a way to make one product that meets the needs of both of your sort of commercial markets, and I think most don't. I think most honestly cater to one or the other. So you've got these educational games that are like, hey, gamify your room, play this game, and you look at it and there's zero educational content to it at all. Or you have the exact opposite, where there's this game, your students are going to love it, and it's all teacher based, and it has absolutely no appeal or enjoyment for the student user. Like, we've got to be able to bridge that gap and find that sweet spot in the middle where you're meeting the needs of both.
Well, and that kind of connects too with the previous 2.5 years of work that I've been doing for ISC too, is the people that develop the training for technicians are usually the engineers. And the engineers, like, they can visualize products and how it's working in the machine or the component in the machine. And they'll have one of the courses that I did was 2.5 hours about like gears and clutches and stuff like that. And while the engineers understand it, while it's death by PowerPoint, to me, having to sit there because there's only static images. And it's like, if you understand who your technicians are, these aren't 4-year engineering students. These are high school graduates who had a hard time functioning in normal classes and retaining information. Now you want them to sit for 2.5 hours and learn about clutches and the way that they work with static images. Like, you need to approach your content that you're developing for your target audience. While you're the subject matter expert and you have all of this knowledge, it's about transferring the knowledge from one source to somebody else, and knowing which medium is most appropriate, and if you're delivering it through X medium, how it should look and feel. I mean, modular design was not a thing. Like, module design to them was 2 hours at a time instead of like 10, 15, maybe even 7-minute chunks of just anything. So, I mean, it goes beyond just education too, that even in the private sector, these people that are trying to gamify or at least develop e-learning don't understand their target audience and how they best receive the information.
Just like developers.
Yeah, if you can make it to Serious Play Conference, the fact that they've got multiple tracks that are just, I mean, it's all about gamified learning essentially. You've got lower ed, you've got upper ed, you've got medical, you've got military. It's really cool to pop out of the education tracks and check out sort of what is happening within these other markets, like you were talking about, because it's not just education. It's, hospitality industry, the military uses a lot of, gamified settings for training. Before you get, boots on the ground, there's some really cool applications that are happening, and I think it's eye-opening to see how people are using it, because some are using it really well, and then others, it's the same pitfalls that we see in education.
I put a link to my rant so I could save you all from having to have it live.
It was a good rant.
I just want it like,
I hate that it has to be
talking to the camera, like as a spoken manifesto.
I hate that it has to be had like every week. Like I want a break, not from you, but from the need for like the fact that it's like every week one of us posts something in a DM and it's like you could just see the collective eye rolls. It's like, okay, who's going off now?
Oh man, I missed this.
Like, who's gonna address this one?
It's like before Twitter went down today, huh?
Oh,
it started yesterday.
Why does it say a bunch are unavailable? Did someone delete a bunch?
We're not entirely sure on that one.
It could be that Twitter is down, or somebody could. I mean,
it could have all gotten taken down. Yeah,
somebody could have gotten to
Twitter.
What?
You broke Twitter.
Oh yeah, I have.
Oh, Twitter hardcore.
You.
Still trying. It better be up tomorrow.
But while Twitter is up, let's do this real quick, because I know we're getting short on time, and I want to make sure we get this out there, because we were talking just now about games with no educational value, but we really need to talk about this.
Yes.
Let's talk about this for a second, shall we, Carrie?
Yes, I'm so. This is my baby.
Talk about this.
So everybody knows I'm the communication specialist for Liminal Esports. In the spring, Liminal Esports branched out to create Snowbright Studio. And so we do a lot of research on, gaming, education, gaming and esports and education. And it's a lot easier to do your own research if you own your title, because then you can actually go in and look at very specific things. You can make adjustments. It's yours. So we've been working on creating a couple different games. And this is the first one that is going to be hitting the market. Time Tales is really cool. I'm really excited about it. I think most teachers, when you introduce your students to coding, you introduce them with Scratch. And then kids are a lot older when they finally meet like an actual game development software
like Unity or something like that.
Like Unity. And so Time Tales is based on the Unity system, and it's designed to slowly introduce students to components within Unity, so that by the time kids have played through the completed game, they will be able to like enter into the Unity programming environment and actually not be intimidated by everything that's on there. So our Kickstarter launches tomorrow. Everything's fine. Everything's okay. Our Kickstarter launches tomorrow. We've got our pilot testing is starting like next week. Our first level, which is going to be the first one that we're working on right now, is basically just tackling transforms. So it's teaching kids how to utilize the X, Y, and Z axis. So our two main characters, Ari and Zoe, they're two cool cats from the 80s, and they are time traveling, and they are using coding to fix these issues that are in history. And we've got a great artist on board. This is Ari. who's actually a really kind of cool character, which I'll tell you about in just a second. But we got like super cute cats, adorable creatures, and some just really whimsical stuff that gets thrown into sort of messed up pieces of history that you then have to go in and fix. The thing that makes this game even cooler is that
can it get any cooler?
It can get cooler. So Ari, there's more.
It's a Ron Popeil ad all of a sudden. Very few people will know that.
Ronco rotisserie oven.
Yeah.
Ari is non-binary, and while we're starting to see alternative gender representation in AAA games, we don't see much of it, and we don't necessarily see it done sort of thoughtfully or respectfully. We decided that the edtech world really sort of like, we need to make sure that gender representation exists. It needs to exist within the educational environment. Representation is huge. Kids need to be able to be playing games and accessing material that they can see themselves in. So Ari is non-binary. They go by they, them. And then Zoe is she, her. So we've got representation. We're shooting for this game to sort of help get girls and LGBTQ plus students into the game development world. We know that we are generally sort of underrepresented, and we would like to sort of do our part to help create that bridge and that pipeline to help students find their way into an environment that still tends to be very cis white male.
Oh, by the way, sorry I did not see this before, but Kevin Brown gave out 4 community subs to people
when we started.
Yeah. Kevin, thank you so much. That was, and Kevin says this as we're bringing him up, my whole rant with Chromebooks this summer that I couldn't find racially appropriate games. And again, if you listen to the podcast episode that we'll be launching on Sunday, we talk about that. And yeah, the solution was unique and something that I would have never expected. So he did find a solution, but damn, I told Kevin, I'm like, if I was given the project of, oh, by the way, Chromebooks and introduction to esports, I would have gone like, peace out, see ya. I've got too much stuff going on right now. I cannot put my brain around that. So, Carrie, this is really awesome. I think you and Jay, and I don't know how many other people you have working through all this on your team, but this is something that's needed. And I also have to say publicly that Carrie helped out tremendously with a slight adjustment that we made in our Discord server where one of my students advocated very strongly for pronouns to be a role selection. And taking a page from UCI, again, Kathy Shang, thank you so much for putting that into it and giving me a model of which I could look at. I stole it and put it into our Discord server. And I have to say I had a meeting with another one of the high school and all the kids, and kids said thank you for that. There were other kids who said thank you for that. So this is so necessary. And unfortunately, given some of the state of things, this is going to, I'm sure, it's going to get a lot of praise and it's going to get a lot of crap thrown at it.
I'm bracing for impact. I know I've already lost a few followers just from this particular post. So yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. Because it's LGBTQ forward, and there are definitely people who don't agree with that. But you know, if that's people's standpoints, you are more than welcome to unfollow me.
Yeah.
Because we're really proud of what we're doing. We really believe that it needs to be there, and I think, you know, for me, allyship comes in all forms. So, you know, issues regarding women, issues regarding LGBTQ, like that's my wheelhouse. But you see me like up on a pedestal for other people's issues and concerns as well. And I think that's the big thing when it comes to stuff like this. Like, you know, if you see a project and it's dealing with a group that you know is underrepresented and you're on your own soapbox, you need to get on their soapbox too and help their voices get heard, because if like we got to bring all these people up. So yeah, so if you tomorrow, if Twitter's working, there will be a lot of posts going out on the Snowbright Twitter account. They'll be going out on the Liminal Twitter account. I will just be annoying people for 3 weeks.
Great.
Buckle up.
We'll make sure to promote every week.
Smash that retweet button.
Here's something that's going to take a few of us back, and some of you probably could be like, what the heck are you talking about? Okay, just to kind of I realize that we've come so far to have a game like this. I also realize that there are a lot of people in our country who have not come so far.
Yeah.
Growing up, my father used to watch a lot of sitcom comedies. So All in the Family my father loved it because he grew up on Long Island. It takes place in Queens. I, for whatever reason, got the urge. I'm like, I want to watch All in the Family because that show was like, so it was talking about race and racial relations in this country when nobody talked about that on television. That was never a topic. And I watched the first 3 episodes of All in the Family, and oh my God, Archie Bunker, the character that played Carol O'Connor, was a lifelong liberal. Carol O'Connor was not about being a racist, but he played one on TV to kind of point out how silly they looked. The first episodes were made in 1971. If you have access, and everybody does because it's free, the app Crackle, it is the only place I could find you can watch it. You watch those episodes and you'll realize just how far we've come and how far we have not come at all.
Yep.
It is shocking. It was shocking to watch a show from 1971 that the things you watch on TV, the way you see people act online, some things have changed and some things have damn well stayed the same. So
no, and it's hard because if you're not part of a community, you don't necessarily see it, which is why I always tell people make sure that your community includes people that are different from you. I work in an LGBTQ owned and operated business. So like we tend to be very aware of what's happening within our community. And there's some scary stuff. There's some scary stuff that, has conversations going about like what states you might not be able to live in because it's not going to be safe. There's a lot of like just basic human right issues that are coming up and potentially going to get much worse depending on what happens in this, next couple of weeks. It's good to be aware of where we come to, and it's good to make sure that you touch base with these people that are in other groups other than you and be like, hey, like, what are you guys facing? Because it's not always the same for each demographic group. And some of the stuff like isn't necessarily openly talked about as much. So you might be really unaware as to what some of the current struggles are. Like we got a long ways to go on a lot of things.
And VPSH Esports said a lot of old school shows would be wrong nowadays. All in the Family was written to shed light on those racial issues, to use the phrases of the time and the stereotypes of the time to bring light to just how ridiculous they really are. So I'm sure it's a show that if it was done today would not be done nearly as easily because of some of the phrases that they use and terms that they use of people. But it is something that when you watch it, you go, oh my God, it is just, yes, we've come so far. And no, we have not come far at all. All right. I only cursed a couple of times tonight, but we are over an hour. I did post the link to the rant. If you want to read it, I'm not going to go into it tonight. It is still raw. And here's the thing. Here's why I'm tired. I've tried it with the stick. I've tried it with the carrot. None of it has worked. It's falling on deaf ears, and it's change of tactics and try some other things. I have invited JT Vandenbree to have an open conversation with K-12. I challenge him to actually meet with some of the state association leaders to actually find out what's going on with their programs. Yeah. I challenge him to actually get away from play versus not get their rose-colored tint glass view of the world, but actually talk with the people in Ohio, the people in Michigan, the people in Wisconsin, the ones who are not doing it in California through play versus. Do your research, talk about those, because dude, JT, you killed it when you publicly walked out on Riot and you posted up like all the thing about all the issues. You did that. You were quoted you put your job on the line doing that. You put a bullseye on your back, and salutes to you for that. Now get down to K-12 and find out what we're really dealing with and see just the changes we're making. And also to my friend Brian, who Mike and I work with in Wisconsin, to also realize that the changes that they have made have caused lasting damage potentially to some kids in small town communities who don't have access to a whole hell of a lot of stuff and don't see eye to eye with a pirating company like Play Versus that comes in, goes around teachers, goes around administrations, and chooses to work at all other angles other than directly with educators. I don't know of any education company that ever tries to cut out educators more. I've never seen one, and one that's never been successful. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant. I'll stop now. So, okay.
Who's the
Again,
preacher now?
what?
Who's the preacher now?
Reverend. Do you see the light?
One of my cousins was a priest, and his name was James. So Father Jim.
My grandfather was at seminary at Notre Dame. Thankfully, he dropped out. So I am here.
Oh, my cousin's no longer a priest.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear.
All right.
Walked out of that.
Time for final thoughts. Mike.
So I'm going to jump on your coattails a little bit, and not necessarily just the rant here, but I mean, I try to reach out to all of these developers as much as I can. At this point, I'm applying to some of their jobs just to get a voice at the table. So I'm taking interviews sometimes at 7, 8 o'clock with companies on the West Coast, just because that's the only way that I feel like I can have my voice heard at the table for some of these companies. And I hate wasting their time in order to do so. And I really invite anyone to have a conversation with us that are in K-12. I mean, for those that say that it's not sustainable is a huge slap in the face. I mean, I probably spend some weeks 30 to 40 hours extra a week. I mean, I haven't hardly sat on the couch over there yet this week. So, I mean, as much as I love my wife and my dog back there, I'm also realizing that I'm putting in tons of work for students around the state that this is going to be meaningful for them, and that it's going to make a lasting positive experience for their K-12 career. And so that's why I'm willing to spend all this additional hours doing it. And if I can have a voice at the table, I feel like we could make an even bigger impact across more states and across more students.
I'll just put that out. If Riot will just say that, it ultimately loses us money when state local esports programs are allowed to exist instead of funneling them into our thing.
Yeah.
I will at least know where Riot stands. They will be honest, and I can move on with my life. Until they,
I mean,
like,
that's
it's not even true, which is the
I mean,
thing.
No.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Danielle.
I'm going to jump on that too and say, like, they need to work with K-12 because, like, their communities, like, their future of their business is our students. And the most valuable brand, the most valuable company in the world is Apple. And what did everybody have in their schools growing up?
Apple IIe.
I mean, right. Everybody. So Apple invested heavily in K-12 and it is fucking paying off. Pardon. It is paying off. And we
pay a premium for that stuff. We will pay double price
because that's what we have always had. And that, that was 30, 40 years ago, and it's paying off now. And I don't think that developers see that we are willing to build them a customer base. They just have to let us do it our way. Yeah. And that's all we want, is to protect our students. We don't want to cost them money. We have no intentions of making money off of all the billions of dollars in esports. I'm not going to make any of it. But I am here to protect my students and to provide for my students. And so if they would just be aware and broaden their horizons.
Invite us.
And, that unsustainable thing, like, how many companies have gotten $150 million in venture capital and gone under? Teachers, we are a lasting institution and we're not going anywhere. So that bubble is going to pop. When it does, our programs will still exist.
Angelique?
Forget League of Legends. We can just play Among Us. No.
Anybody know them at Innersloth? Like, how do we get a Among Us EDU set up? Like, let's go.
Yeah, but like, I think
go.
I think like my final thought is like, I am kind of over the big games. Like, just like as a whole, like as a gamer myself too, I've been kind of over them for a while. And I'm really appreciating these like smaller company indie kind of games that are coming out, because they are so much more willing to support educators and like provide educators and adapt their platforms for educators and let us into the cool kids club. Cough, cough, epic. Give me a creator code. Cough, cough. But like
Steve Isaacs, hook that up already. Use your contacts, man.
but
Steve, you need to jump on this Among Us EDU thing because you're like always right there at the precipice. Like,
yeah. But like I mean, I'm not talking smack about Epic because Steve's done some amazing things in creative mode in Fortnite and all of that. So I don't know.
But they've brought us to the table.
Yeah, right. I wish they would bring us to the table a little bit more, but it's just, I think I appreciate those smaller games because it's making it more accessible for kids. Among Us is free for all of kids as long as they have a phone, or it's like on Chromebook. There's like a little emulator thing now. It's just,
is there really?
Yeah, you can play on Chromebook. It's blocked for my kids, but probably not for all kids. But it's been really nice. And I mean, I'm still reeling off of my really good day of my only top day of distance learning this week. So my final thought is if you haven't played Among Us with your kids, go do it. Give them a day off. We're all burnt out. We need a day of fun.
Carrie?
I hop on to her rant. Small development companies are great. I think not only is it great to have kids be sort of like the truffle pigs out finding the next really cool title that can be used as esports. There's great analytics. There's great, there's so many skills that you could build and insert there in the process of just finding the next game. A lot of those small development companies are going to be much more approachable than the big ones, which means you have the potential of being able to get interviews, getting people to come and talk to your kids about game development, being able to have actual interactions with the people that are on either the CM staff or the actual devs in general. So there's a lot of potential there, I think, if you are willing to embrace sort of the small development companies, as well as looking at an uncertain future with some of the big companies in the bigger leagues. Branching out and diversifying is potentially going to be a really healthy choice especially for the K-12 K-12 sphere.
I kind of ranted already, but I do want to take this moment to promote one person who I thought was the rock star of the opening keynote at the UCI conference. And I want to share her LinkedIn profile right here. Janae Bennett. She spoke truth. She is a Chicago girl. I love that she's Midwest. I do need to bring this up here. She pointed out as she calls it, a glorious example of inclusivity and diversity. And I don't know how you all feel about this. Again, who knows, but she has been killing it with calling things out of this. And she's somebody, she called out, where was this one?
This is what you sent me, something she said.
Yeah, the Women in Esports Summit or whatever it was. Yeah.
And she called that out. And she actually, I shared it, and a gentleman named Adam Lopez was like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, she's like, he gave, it was every excuse. It was, maybe they asked somebody and they couldn't be part of it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 speakers, and 6 of them are white and 2 are Asian. I feel if you're going to call something women in esports, it should be women in esports. Call it. It's like those. This should, that's a bold statement to make. That's a bold title to use. Women in esports. Call it some women in esports. It's like those people who call it the International House of Pancakes. I don't see an International House of Pancakes in France. They're not putting one up in Uganda. You can't call that shit the International House of anything. So you can't call that women in esports because that is just not it at all. So that's my closing thought. So follow her. Again, I'll put the link right here in the. I'll put the link in the chat so you can check her out and follow her because she's amazing. And again, she's Chicago, so I want to get her actually in on the Esports EDU chat, even though she's not an educator. I think having her speak with us and share her ideas, getting her voice out there, she's one who should be a rock star. So that's my last one for the night. So that's it. We are not going to do Among Us because I know, Angelique, you've got so much grading to do tonight.
I
you
got
are
lots of speeches to watch.
and you're our Among Us, champ. So we want to make sure that you can take some of us through. And here's what we would like to do. If you are in the show right now and you're watching, because you can get 10 people. I would like to invite some people, if you're interested in playing some Among Us, to shoot me a DM. My DMs are open, I believe, in Twitter. And we'll get a group together and we'll do this after one of the, if next week, the week after, we'll do this after, and we'll have a good gaming session, because I can stream it out with 10 people in StreamYard as well, too. So
yes, so fun.
It will enhance the conversation, I think.
And we got to play with
voices.
cameras on, because that really brings it up a level.
No.
You got to have the poker face.
I can't. I will give myself.
I think we should model
gotta
best
practice.
practices and just do your lesson and have that slide up too.
We could.
Yeah.
We could do that. We could. A live lesson. I'm down.
I mean, that's what you need for teachers to change practice, is they have to have an exemplar.
Well, and the reason why I put so much detail in that, like a tutorial and all that, my kids know and I know how to play, but so many teachers have asked me, like after I tweeted like 2 weeks ago, I got a bunch of DMs and they're like, I don't know how to play. What do I do? So I'm like, I'm just gonna put everything here. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's video.
Okay, so I have a week to work on my poker face.
Yes.
And it was great. Chris, I see you in the chat tonight. Thanks for popping back in, Chris Fryman, tonight, for popping back in. It was great to see you. Mike Dolly, thanks for coming in and getting the call up from AAA moderator to, you need to do your job a lot better.
Sharp
what?
tonight.
Ouch.
You are 2-ply, buddy.
Okay. Do I need to be softer? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Two
We have to have
ply is pretty rigid.
My aftersoft.
the Mike Dolly super soft Twitter chat, I think, needs to happen at some point. All right. Thanks everybody for checking in. We'll be back again next week. Who knows who'll be here? I think I will be. So we'll find out.
I think you just post the code on Twitter and see the first 10 people that show up.
That log in.
Yeah.
Sam Anton is calling me toxic. Sam, I am not toxic today.
You're pretty spicy today. I don't know about toxic, but spicy for sure.
I did tell Sam though the other day that I am. I did have to channel my inner Sam this last week. There was a lot of channeling of my inner Sam. So thank you, Sam, for being that Jiminy Cricket character on my shoulder. So, all right,